Hey everyone, it's Marie from Asian Boss. It's not every day you see celebrities speaking out to raise awareness about various social issues that they care about, especially in Asia. That's definitely not the case for Liza Soberano, who's one of the Philippines' most famous actresses with more than 13 million followers on her Instagram alone. Despite only being 22 years old, Liza regularly uses her massive platform to advocate what she believes in. She agreed to interview with Asian Boss to share with the world why she's so passionate about certain social issues that concern the lives of the Filipinos. This is how the interview went. Hi Liza, thank you so much for chatting with Asian Boss today. It would have been great to interview you in person, but given this global pandemic right now, obviously that's not possible. But how are you doing right now? Are you staying safe?
Yes, I'm doing great. I've been staying at home for the past 3 months now since they stopped our taping for our show that we're currently doing. I've been out about 3 times just to go grocery shopping, but that's about it. And I make sure that I practice all the safety measures whenever I go outside.
How are you dealing with this lockdown situation right now? Does it have an effect on your mental health?
Definitely. I've been getting a lot of anxiety attacks lately because we're just at home, we're isolated. We don't get to see a lot of people all the time and talk to different people, which I am used to on a daily basis because, well, I'm an actress and I work with a lot of different people all the time. So, there's a feeling of hopelessness sometimes because there's so much going on in the world and you want to help, but you can't really do anything but like voice out your opinions on social media or help by donating to certain organizations, small steps to help whatever is going on in the world right now.
I guess for most Filipinos, you don't really need an introduction because you're one of the biggest actresses in the Philippines. And the last time I checked, you have over 13 million Instagram followers. But maybe for our global viewers who might not be familiar with you, how would you introduce yourself?
My name is Liza Soberano, but that's just a screen name. My real name is Hope Soberano, and I'm 22 years old. I'm half Filipino, half American, but I'm currently working here in the Philippines right now as an actress. I'm also a student. I've been studying psychology.
We've been wanting to interview you for a while now because you seem like one of those public figures who genuinely care about social issues and are not afraid to speak up about them. But before we get into all that, let's explore your background a little bit more. So where did you actually grow up?
I grew up in America. I was born there and raised there till I was 10. I went to school there, and then when I was 10, I came here to visit my dad. But my brother and I ended up enjoying ourselves here and the culture of the Philippines. So we decided to stay longer until I started auditioning for TV commercials, for print ads and stuff. But then that developed into me becoming an actress.
So you came to the Philippines as a young girl, but you grew up in the States. So how was that transition? Was there any cultural shock, for example? What are the biggest cultural differences you've experienced?
I don't think it was that big of a cultural shock because while I was in America, I grew up with Filipino, parents. I grew up with my grandparents.
Oh.
And they are very, very traditional Filipinos. I grew up eating Filipino food, so it wasn't hard for me to adjust when I came here. I think the hardest transition would have to be learning the language because my grandparents are Filipino, but they speak more Ilocano, which is another language here in the Philippines. So I didn't know the national language, which is what more Filipinos know or can understand. So that would probably be the hardest part, and probably just the weather difference, because in America there's 4 seasons and here there's only 2 seasons. So I guess that it was hard for me to adjust that because I like the cold and it's pretty humid and hot here. But it wasn't that hard. I find it really fun here in the Philippines. The beaches are beautiful and the people are so nice.
How do you identify do you identify more as a Filipino or more as an American? Did you ever have some sort of identity crisis where you didn't really know where you belong to? I think I can relate because I'm half Filipino myself, so I'm actually very curious about what you're going to say.
Cool. Well, I don't say that I'm more Filipino or I'm more American. I think I'm a good combination of both because I lived pretty much half of my life in America and half here. So I've found a way to incorporate both cultures within myself. And well, there are some times like when I'm here in the Philippines, I come off as too American, I guess. And when I'm in America, I come off as too Filipino sometimes. So it depends on where I am, I guess. But yeah, I think I'm a pretty good mix of both.
Filipinos actually notice that you're half? Can they see that when you're walking on the streets? Do they notice, or do they treat you as a full Filipino?
Oh, definitely. At first, when I was here in the Philippines and I wasn't an actress yet, of course, nobody knew who I was. But a lot of people would stare at me all the time, probably because I looked different from them. And they were wondering, what is that foreigner doing here or something like that. But now I guess they do recognize me more as Filipino, but sometimes I'm not Filipino enough.
Since you are half American, half Filipino, do you think it actually helped you to break into the Filipino entertainment industry? Does it help to be mixed or like half white? Do you think you had some sort of white privilege in that sense?
I would like to think otherwise, but maybe it had something to do with it. Because Filipinos are really fascinated with the Western type of beauty. And I guess like instantly when you look at someone who is half Filipino and what other half they have, it sparks a curiosity, and or some Filipinos might even find it attractive. So maybe those were bonus points that they took into consideration when they hired me. But I wish it weren't that way, if you know what I mean. I wish it weren't about like how you look or what your background is or what your ethnicity is. I wish it were about like pure talent and how good of a person you are or your personality. But I'm not complaining though. I mean, if it helped me, then that's great.
Then, okay, so you came to the Philippines as a very young girl. Now you have to tell us, how did you end up becoming one of the biggest stars in the Philippines? Is this something you consciously worked on, or did it just happen magically?
It just happened all of a sudden. I never wanted to be an actress because I was a really shy girl growing up. And I wanted to become a model. I knew that was for sure because I was into America's Next Top Model, and I always liked looking at magazines and stuff. So I started auditioning for TV commercials and TV or print ads, but that didn't work out a lot for me. So then eventually my road manager, he introduced me to my manager now, which is OG Diaz. And OG Diaz was the one who introduced me to Abs-Cbn. And from there, I started working. I started doing what we call a teleserie, which is a TV series. And from there, I've been working like straight since I was 12. I don't really remember like a period like this long during lockdown that I didn't have work. So yeah, it's just I did one series and then I did another, and then I did multiple movies, and that helped with me becoming who I am now.
What do you think was the most difficult part about gaining all this fame? Was there any obstacles along the way?
Yes, of course. Probably a lot of people would say that I'm just pretty, that I don't really have talent, or that, like I said, I'm not Filipino enough, and that they should give other Filipinos a chance. So those were probably the biggest struggles, and also the language barrier because I couldn't speak it fluently, and I didn't have the right accent to speak Tagalog before. But I really worked hard. I strived hard to prove that I am more than what meets the eye, that I do have talent. And then I really had to practice my Tagalog over and over. And I made sure that I became somewhat of an expert at like with the accent and everything.
You're very, very young. You're 22, right? Did you ever imagine to become this successful at the age of 22?
No, I don't think I ever. Success was never something that came to my mind when I was young. I didn't really have any idea about it or what it meant, I guess. And now that I look back on, or like when you ask me the question, I'm grateful that I'm successful. I turned out successful, and I'm grateful for all the work that I've ever had. But no, I never I never thought I would be successful. I never thought about it. It was never something that I worked consciously on. So yeah, I was really shy before, and I like I said, I would have never imagined going into the showbiz industry. The reason why I had to put that all aside is because I wanted to work to support my family financially, because I wasn't that well off as a child. We just had the right amount of money, and we had, everything was just the right amount. But I wanted to provide like a better future for my siblings. I have 8 younger siblings, so I wanted to give them, the best life they could possibly have.
What would you say are the biggest up and downsides of being this famous?
Well, the biggest upside, I think, would have to be the fact that we get to reach out to so many people. We have such a huge platform to influence, to speak up about issues or even organizations that matter to us. And we get to do the thing we love, while we're also we're also making other people happy at the same time. So like, we're making the best out of our lives, but we're also making other people's lives a little, happier or a little more colorful at the same time. The downside of the career or the industry I work in, or being this successful at such a young age, would have to be probably the sleepless nights, because of the industry I work in. And that I don't get to spend as much time with family as I would like to, because I'm constantly traveling, or I'm filming something, and that takes about 3 months all the time, 3 months straight not seeing your family. So I would say that's the biggest downside.
Recently, you've been part of this national movement to raise awareness about the shutdown of the biggest network in the Philippines, which is Abs-Cbn. For foreigners who might not know what it is, could you explain what Abs-Cbn is?
Mm-hmm. So Abs-Cbn is the largest and oldest free-to-air television network, and it's the company that I work for. It's been 10 years since I've started my first series with ABS, and if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be who I am now, and I wouldn't have the name Liza Soberano, because they gave me that name also. And they trusted me. They gave me the opportunity to portray different roles and to lead in some of the biggest projects that the company has ever had. So I owe a lot to them. A lot of who I am is because of them now.
Since you worked at Abs-Cbn for so long, how big of an issue was it that it actually did shut down?
It's probably one of the biggest issues here in the country right now, aside from COVID-19, the pandemic. I mean, if it's big enough to reach you guys, to reach all these big news stations in America, I would consider that a big issue.
Why did Abs-Cbn actually shut down in the first place? Do you know that?
The National Telecommunications Commission just ordered a cease and desist order because our franchise has expired and they had to renew it. Our company has been trying to renew for 4 years now, but hasn't been approved, or they've been prolonging the hearing or whatever it is that they had to do to fix the franchise. So that's why they closed it down.
So when you first heard about this news, what was your initial reaction?
I was surprised. Actually, none of us saw it coming. I honestly expected that because of the whole pandemic and the crisis that the country and the whole world was facing, that the hearing or the issue with ABS was going to be put on hold, and that they would have resumed whatever process they had to go through to fix the franchise of the network would be resumed after the whole pandemic. So yeah, I was shocked. And right immediately after, I started checking social media, checking my Twitter and Instagram, and I just wanted to check on some of the people that I work with in the company. And I saw all their pictures at Abs-Cbn. They were crying, and they were like, we were so sad we couldn't even hug each other, even though we wanted to. And that made me really sad. I even cried.
How did this shutdown affect average people? in that sense? How much did people rely on ABS-CBN?
Most recently, we had a typhoon, and people in that region didn't really have, they didn't have any other network or any other station. They relied on ABS-CBN for their news. So they didn't know that the typhoon was coming. So that was one pretty big issue that happened after ABS-CBN closed down, that made it obvious that ABS is important to the Filipino people. A lot of people really rely on ABS-CBN right now, especially because of COVID-19 happening, and there's other like natural disasters that have been happening here in the Philippines as well, like the typhoon. There have been multiple earthquakes these past few weeks. So a lot of different regions in the Philippines that don't have other stations except for ABS-CBN rely on us for news and information. And because we are not on air right now, they're facing these challenges without any warning ahead of time.
But do you think it also has something to do with press freedom? Because it's news, right? And they're reporting on current events, and people rely on it, just like you mentioned earlier with the typhoon and now COVID-19. Do you think it also is a press freedom issue?
Yes, I would definitely say that it probably is a matter of press freedom. And press freedom is important because we stand as like the protection between ordinary people and those who rule or those who are in power. And journalists and reporters are there to inform people, because how can they make an opinion if they're not informed, if they don't know that they have other options? And we are fighting for freedom of the press because people need us. People need to see a different point of view. People need, we're here to serve the governed, not the governors. We're here to create balance, which that is what life is all about, balance.
I've actually come across a lot of celebrities in the Philippines posing like this with a hand, a fist on their heart, like this. But I'm very curious about what this actually symbolizes. What does this pose mean?
That was a campaign that was organized by ABS-CBN's leaders, and it basically means that we're fighting back to bring back the ABS-CBN franchise so that they can continue on serving the Filipino people as they have been for 65 years now. And it was initiated so that we can garner attention from people all over the country so that they could support us if they wanted to.
How did the public actually react to that? Did they react positively, or did you get any backlash for doing this?
There were like 50-50 reactions. Some of them were negative, some of them were positive. Of course, naturally, my supporters would react positively to that, and they would support because, well, they support me and they love the company and they've been avid fans of the programs that the company has been producing. But there are people that are also have opposing reactions or have negative reactions, saying that like the law is the law and that ABS must shut down, and that we're probably just fighting for the company because we benefit from it.
How do you respond to that?
I actually find it sad that people would think that we have such selfish intentions, but it's more than that. Like I said, I've worked with ABS-CBN for 10 years now. I've grown to love everybody that I've worked with, my bosses, the people that I work with on a daily whenever I'm filming my TV series or a movie. And I don't think any human being like with a heart could stomach seeing that these people that you love so much or that have worked so hard to get to the position that they are in now, which is some of them have been working for the company for like 25 years. And for them to reach a certain level, that takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of perseverance and love for the company for them to stay that long. And I don't want to see all that time and effort go to waste for them, because if the company just closes, then they would have to find another job. But of course, when you go into another job, you're not going to get the same benefits. You're not going to get the same salary. And that's what we're fighting for, because these people worked hard and we don't want their hard work to go to waste.
Right.
And it's also a matter of just pure love for the company and for all the projects that they produce and the audience. We have a connection, a deep connection with our audience. We call each other kapamilya, which in Tagalog means family. So you would never let your family, face these trials or these issues on their own. You got to stand up for your family.
How do you respond to people who would think that you're too young to give any insightful comment on this or to be even involved with social issues like this?
I don't think anyone is, well, aside from if you can't speak it, if you're that young, but I don't think anybody is ever too young to give out an opinion, as long as your opinion isn't stepping on anyone, as long as you're not trying to bring anyone else down. I mean, I'm not doing anything bad. I'm just trying to help these people that don't have a voice or don't have the following to be heard. What I did the other day is I tried to ask the government to, look into the case again and to really see it in their hearts what the real issue is, and to focus on what the matter is, so that the company and the government or whoever needs to renew the franchise, can come to an agreement and can settle things out at in a right process and at the right time. And a lot of people did the whole posing thingy like we did, which means that they were pretty concerned about ABS-CBN closing down, and they showed their support. And a lot of ABS-CBN's fans also started showing their support online. Probably to the Filipino viewers, I don't know when this is coming out, but if you can, please sign the petition to renew the ABS-CBN franchise, only if it's in your heart to do so, of course. And I'm not forcing anybody, but just if you happen to chance upon it and you want to.
How can they do that?
There's a website. Actually, I should put it on my bio on Instagram. It's a petition that you just have to fill up your name, and then that's all. You just have to click enter.
Then as an actress, what are your future plans?
As an actress, well, I hope to go back to taping soon, go back to work. I do not know what I have down the line as of the moment, because usually I should be doing my TV series still right now, and usually after TV series we get into doing movies. I don't know how we're going to go upon that, since this whole pandemic, and we don't know the current situation or the future, what the future is for our company. I don't know what is going to happen to the company in the future, but I will always stand by them. I don't think that I could ever go to another rival network here in the Philippines. I could look for projects to do, foreign projects to do probably, but my heart in the Philippines goes to ABS-CBN.
Have you actually ever thought about going to Hollywood? You have talent, you have the looks.
I have considered it, but I've always been busy with my projects in ABS-CBN, and I had a contract with them too that hasn't been finished yet. So I've been really busy with them. They've been giving me a lot of work, one project after the other. Yeah, and I think it's because it's my comfort zone too. Like I said, I'm very shy. I don't really know if I could deal with being super famous in another country.
Oh.
I don't know how I would like seeing Hollywood celebrities and how they get, interviewed by paparazzi and stuff. I don't know if I could handle that.
But I guess if you go outside in the Philippines, everyone would recognize you, right? So how do you do that? Do you have bodyguards, or how do you hide in public?
No, I don't. I never have a bodyguard, because they're really nice and warm. They usually just want a picture, or they just want to say hi. So I don't really mind that. And they don't usually crowd us, because there's not usually one whole huge crowd of Filipinos. So it only gets scary if there's a huge crowd. But if it's just one or two Filipinos passing by and they notice us, we don't really mind.
But can you just go to a mall just like that? Or can you even go shopping normally?
Yeah, in the Philippines, when I do go to a mall, I usually wear a mask and a hat. Oh. And sometimes they still recognize me, because of course, why would anybody, well, now that's the new normal, but before it wasn't. So I would still get attention for being dressed like that. But even though they would recognize me, they kind of knew that I was trying to trying to be low key, so they wouldn't try to attract too much attention towards me.
You mentioned that you had anxiety and like, I don't know if you mentioned depression, but can you go more into that?
Yeah, I was having anxiety attacks because, like I said, there's a sense of hopelessness going around because of COVID, the pandemic, and a lot of the trials that we're facing here in the Philippines. Like with the whole ABS-CBN issue, I felt like I wasn't doing enough, or there wasn't enough that I could possibly do. Like, because I'm not physically there. It's different when you're physically there to show your support, or it's different when you're physically there helping people. And for me, I'm the type of person that can't just sit back and watch everything happen and not do anything about it. So I started getting anxiety attacks because I was like, oh no, I'm not helping people. I'm not doing anything. I can't do anything because I'm stuck here at home. I hate this pandemic. It's just like a bunch of thought bubbles just popping into your mind constantly. And because you're at home, you're isolated in the comfort of your bedroom. You don't get to see that many people except for your family probably. And, it eventually seeing the same people over and over, no matter how much you love them, but not being able to hear different insights, or just, asking somebody how you are or how they are. Because here at home, you're not going to ask your parents how they are because you're with them every day, right? So, like, it's just different having normal conversations every day with people and being present with other people.
What actually helps you to get over these anxiety attacks?
I like to read. I like to read books. I'd like to go online and just talk to my friends or play games with them. Or I like to cook. I like to cook because it's like the time that I have to myself to just really think about life, because I don't know, you get to just focus on the food while you're chopping and just stirring, and then your thought is just like all to yourself. You get to think. That's what I do whenever I have anxiety. Or sometimes, I just lay down in bed and cry.
Oh,
Yeah.
is there any tips that you can give to others on how they can cope with this?
Keep yourself busy. Try to find something new to do. That's one thing that I discovered that helps with anxiety. When you try to learn like a new talent, or maybe a technique or a skill, it really helps with easing, or like helping you forget about whatever it is that you're thinking about in that moment, because you really have to focus on learning. So that helps with coping with anxiety or boredom during quarantine.
Do you have any life mission or goals, that something big that you want to achieve?
I want to become a humanitarian, because one of my idols, or my favorite icon, is Audrey Hepburn, and she was known for her humanitarian acts. And I hope to, or I aspire to be like her someday. I want to come to reach a point in my life where I'm content with whatever it is that I have, and I just want to go around the world and help people.
What other social issues are you personally passionate about or advocate for?
Well, I'm an advocate for children's rights. Like I said, I have a lot of siblings and I love children. So that is something that I'm trying to look into now. I hope to become like an ambassador of UNICEF, or maybe Save the Children in the future. I've been more vocal lately about my passion for children, for children that need help, like for child exploitation on the internet. I've been more vocal about that right now. I've also been quietly, like in my own way, supporting different organizations here in the Philippines, and I've been doing a lot of charity work. But before, I wasn't really vocal about it because it was a part of myself that I wanted to keep to myself. But then during this pandemic, I realized that I should be using my platform to share what I believe in or what I stand for, to hopefully influence people to do the same. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want. That's what I want. I want to help these children. I want to spread awareness that we need to stop these people or these predators online from abusing these children.
Can you explain this whole child exploitation part? Because I'm not sure if people will understand what it is, or like what the problem, especially specifically in the Philippines, is.
Currently, the Philippines is the epicenter of the online sexual exploitation of children in the whole world. We provide the most material, or the most material throughout the world. And, that's really sad, knowing that I'm in the country causing all of this. I wish it weren't, because Filipinos are known to be so loving, so hospitable, so warm, and you could never imagine. But I mean, poverty is also a very big thing here in the Philippines, and I guess I don't know why, but when people are like so poor here in the Philippines, they can't think of other solutions on how they can generate income, that they go into that. They go into exploiting. Some of these people are their own parents. They exploit their own children. Some of these are family members, and the parents don't even know that it's happening. And I wanted to spread awareness about that here in the Philippines, because maybe a lot of people don't know that is going on. Maybe it's happening to someone's child and they're not aware that it's a family member or it's somebody that they're close to is doing this to them. And it really needs to stop, because it's getting, especially now during the quarantine, everybody has all the time to be on their computer and has so much access to social media, has so much access to the internet, that they could be doing bad things, they could be doing good things online. And my purpose is to spread awareness that you should be on the internet for good. Like, you should be doing good things, like reporting these monsters, spreading awareness or insight on different issues that the world face right now.
Do you have any examples of these stories? Because I'm sure that a lot of people overseas actually have no idea what this whole thing is, and maybe it's good if you give at least one example. Maybe it's something that you've heard from someone.
I actually did watch a documentary before. I don't know if it was like a documentary or like a short clip on Facebook, but there were these two foreigners. I don't know of what ethnicity, but they came to the Philippines, and they were undercover police or detectives, and they were trying to like hire children. So they were talking to this one mother, and then I saw in the video that the mother brought them into the room with the two guys, and then the two guys were asking, what can we do with the kids? And then the mother was like, you can do anything you want. It just costs this much. And then that's when they took out their badges and they started arresting the lady.
Why do you think it's such a big problem in the Philippines specifically? Why not in a different country? What about the Philippines is it that makes this issue so big?
I think it's because of poverty. A lot of these people are very uneducated. They probably haven't even had the chance to go to elementary school, so they don't, they can't really process or think, or don't have the right mind to think of ways of how they can make money without, doing something illegal or bad. So it's like their last resort, or probably not their last resort, but that's all they could think of.
What do you think needs to be done to stop child exploitation in the Philippines?
To spread awareness, to let people know that it's a pretty big issue, and it's going on here in the Philippines, and it's been increasing in numbers of the material that has been spread around the world, and people are becoming innovative and finding other ways to do it without being tracked by doing lives. They do live streaming so that it can't be caught as soon as it's uploaded. And people need to know about that so that they are aware of how much time their children, because sometimes children don't know that they're even exploiting themselves because they don't know any better. So I think it's the parents' obligations also to make sure or monitor their children's internet use. It's also the responsibility of responsible adults to take action, or if they know of somebody or a child that is going through this, that they should report it, or they should make they should just make it obvious that this is a big thing going on in the Philippines and it should be stopped.
As someone who many would consider to be an A-list celebrity in the Philippines, how important do you think it is that other celebrities or influencers like you speak about their beliefs?
Well, I think it is important that people with a wide or a big following, like celebrities or influencers, should realize that they have such a wide reach to contact, to inform, and to mobilize people that are concerned with a certain issue or a cause. And they can influence people to take action, especially people that already love and support them. And I mean, because of our number, the number of following we have, it's like quick to almost instant sharing of messages, because our fans, of course, will share the message and their friends will share the message. So we reach like a wider amount of people and wider opportunity. And we should start doing that, because then you will potentially get people that will support that cause or will at least even listen to it, and your voice will be heard.
So thank you so much, Liza, for chatting with us today. And hopefully next time we will be able to interview in person. We wish you all the best for the future and stay safe.
Thank you so much. I had a wonderful time talking to you, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity to be on Asian Boss, because I didn't get to say this earlier, but I really do watch some of your guys' videos, and I really like what you're doing to spread awareness or to let people know what Asian culture is like, and I really enjoy that. And thank you so much.